Welcome back to Jersey Matters. We continue our conversation now with Atlantic City Mayor Frank Gilliam. I should point out that we are videotaping this interview on the day before your State of the City address, a co-address that you're giving with the Lieutenant Governor, Sheila Oliver, who you mentioned in the first segment. That seems bizarre. It seems to me that you should be giving the address, and why is she imposing herself?
No, she hasn't imposed herself, nor is she actually giving the address. I thought it would be ideal for people in and around the city, as well as the market, to hear from her mouth that the DCA is going to have a prosperous and formidable relationship with the city of Atlantic City.
So you asked her to come down?
Yes, we asked her to come down.
And so the way it's been played in the media is this is a co-address. You're saying it's not. You're giving the State of the City address. She's just going to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm glad that was cleared up.
Yeah, because what we felt that it's always good to hear from the horse's mouth that we're going to be a partner. So I've also had the conversation with the governor and lieutenant governor on several occasions. We ran on the same ticket. We have the same philosophy. Everyone knows that Atlantic City is a very intricate part in the fabric of New Jersey. So I'm overly confident that at the right and appropriate time, we'll begin to see things move in a different direction.
I want to bring up, and just quickly, the charges that were brought up against you from the Democratic Committee. Yeah. But let me explain. I'll explain to people that it was a $10,000 check you were given for something with the city, and you deposited it into your campaign. You fully admitted right away, I made a mistake, I put it in the wrong account, and you remedied it. They pushed for criminal charges. Those charges were dismissed. Now they're talking about suing you. That's correct, right?
Yeah, that's the gist of it. Yes.
And I know you were clear. They dropped the charges. Now there's going to be a lawsuit, but there's a bigger story there, and that is the infighting in the Democratic Party in Atlantic City. Right. So you've got the state takeover to deal with. How do you get things done if you don't have the support of a lot of people in your own party in Atlantic City?
Well, that's interesting that you state that. The Democratic Party is in support of Frank Gilliam. So it's this one entity or group of people who are claiming that they are the Democratic Committee, which they aren't. And the true Democratic Committee is the committee that still and remains in support of the Mayor Frank Gilliam.
So it's not an even split?
No. It's a couple rogue people that decided that they wanted to cause this ruckus about a check. And a lot of it has to do with personal gain. When you talk about folks that are still losing sight of what opportunity we have for Atlantic City's growth, it's unfortunate that with all this energy and excitement happening in and around the city right now, we still have folks that are bulking the change. I think that it's an opportunity for people to be proud of Atlantic City. We've always had a negative spew in and around this town, and I think it's ideal for us and myself to actually rise above that, because as Atlantic City moves forward, we're going to need stability.
Let's talk about that excitement for a second, because we only have a couple minutes left. And I know that one of your jobs is to be a cheerleader for the city.
Absolutely.
And this is a good time to be a cheerleader. You have some things happening. You have a couple of casinos opening.
Absolutely. The beauty is that I've never given up on Atlantic City. Even when 2014 was some of the most darkest times in the city, this city is very resilient. It has basically had its ebbs and flows throughout history. And as we're seeing the rebirth of Atlantic City, as you just mentioned, we have Hard Rock coming on board, which actually changes the game, because they're a different type of gambling institution. They bring synergy, they bring partnerships with the community, so that's something different than...
They have like 300 concerts scheduled for the next year or something, something ridiculous?
They have about 265 concerts already allotted for next year. And then when we had the elephant in the room where Mr. Schraub and Revel wasn't basically moving. Fortunate enough, we had Bruce Dyfick and his group come in and begin to have slated to have Ocean Resort opening up at the end of June 28th, the same day as Hard Rock. But what I'm very excited about is that it brings energy and it synergizes the Southeast Inlet, which had suffered from closing of casinos, and it was actually dormant. And then now we also have the ability to say that the boardwalk is built out from the Southeast Inlet all the way around to Melrose Avenue. So we're seeing the signs of change, but you also feel it because when you slated to have a ribbon cutting of a university, which brings so much synergy, and anyone that knows anything about economics, whenever a university steps into the town, it actually changes the economic climate.
And that's sustainable income. You don't have to worry about the economic climate. You have alumni coming back. I know there's a lot of exciting things, but I wanted to get, since I brought it up when I teased this segment, I brought up the marijuana.
Yes.
So you're looking at revenue sources for the future, and you go off, and I know Phil Murphy wants this too, legalize marijuana for the state. But he says it's more of a social issue. With the interviews I've read with you, you see it more as an economic source.
It's both.
You understand? I know, but he tries to bury the part about the economics. He says it's a social issue. But you see some economic growth for the city as related to that.
I have to, because when you begin to look at, again, I just mentioned 3 revenue streams that we don't receive revenue for, which was parking, room, and the luxury tax. So if the city is going to actually maintain or sustain any sort of stability, it has to find another revenue stream. And because there's a wave to have adult usage of marijuana as a part of that, I must look at that as a real reality based on the various towns and states that I visit to find out what they've done that was rather beneficial or not so beneficial.
I think most politicians do. You're just being honest about it, to tell you the truth. Now, what do you envision? What do you see? How would these? Do you see marijuana hotels? Do you see marijuana emporiums?
I see an adult district in the city of Atlantic City. If we were able to sustain and create policy for legalized gaming, we should be the town and the entity that could basically figure out how to regulate cannabis. There is also a very serious side that I really don't speak about, but it's really the burning desire. It's not necessarily the economics. It's also a social issue. And when people use that term, some may use it lightly, but I don't, because I know that the disproportionate of African Americans that have actually been punished by the utilization of cannabis, I can't ignore the fact that my police officers are overburdened by stops of young people using marijuana. I know that we're an urban community where cannabis is highly utilized, but we're also an urban community where we have an over-influx of opioid issues. And when you begin to look at some of the medicinal elements that help opioid participants wean themselves off of opioid, that's also another spinoff to help clean the city and to bring revenue back to the town.
So you see many benefits.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I do appreciate your time.
No problem.
Atlantic City Mayor Frank Gilliam. Jersey Matters continues right after this. Still to come on Jersey Matters, it was a star-studded night at the New Jersey Hall of Fame. We'll take you there next.